tear 'cause I'm missing you. I'm still alright to smile. I've got more friends like you. What do I do?
You're watching Metal Icons. Before we start, subscribe if you haven't already, because this channel covers the real history of rock and metal without softening anything. Today's video is different from our usual format. We're not talking about loss or legacy tributes. We're talking about behavior, specifically the documented, on-record, hard-to-defend behavior of 10 of the most well-known names in heavy metal. Some of these will confirm what you already suspected. A few might genuinely surprise you. Stay until number 1, because that story has escalated significantly in the last few years, and it's worse than most people realize. Let's go. 10. Varg Vikernes, Burzum. Varg Vikernes is the sole member of Burzum, a one-man black metal project he began in Bergen, Norway in the early 1990s. His contributions to the atmospheric lo-fi sound of early Norwegian black metal are documented and acknowledged, even by people who despise him. That's where the favorable part of this entry ends. In August 1993, Vikernes drove from Bergen to Oslo and stabbed Eystein Arseth Euronymous 23 times at his apartment. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 21 years in prison, the maximum allowable under Norwegian law. He served 15 years before being released in 2009. He was also convicted for the arson of 3 churches, Fantoft Stave Church, Seine Church, and Stortveit Church, and suspected in connection with several more. In total, over 50 churches were burned across Norway during the early 1990s black metal period, with multiple individuals from the scene convicted for various fires. Since his release, he has been arrested in France on terrorism-related suspicion, though charges were eventually dropped. He remains one of the most openly extremist figures ever associated with any genre of music. His music exists. His crimes and ideology exist alongside it. Anyone engaging with his catalog does so with full knowledge of that record. 9. Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses.
A tear 'cause I'm missing you. I'm still alright to smile.
Axl Rose is the lead vocalist of Guns N' Roses and one of the most commercially successful frontmen in hard rock history. Appetite for Destruction 1987 remains one of the best-selling debut albums ever recorded. His vocal range, covering nearly 5 octaves according to multiple documented analyses, is not in question. His behavior is also not in question, and it's extensively documented. Rose was consistently late to shows, sometimes by 2 to 3 hours. Full concert cancellations mid-tour became a recurring pattern throughout the early 1990s. The St. Louis riot on July 2, 1991 is the most cited example. Rose spotted a fan photographing the show, jumped into the crowd to grab the camera, returned to the stage, announced the band could not perform under these conditions, and left. A full-scale riot followed, resulting in dozens of injuries and an estimated $200,000 in property damage. Multiple lawsuits were filed. The internal collapse of the classic Guns N' Roses lineup, which saw Slash, Duff McKagan, and every original member eventually depart, was attributed by multiple sources to Rose's controlling behavior and refusal to operate collaboratively. The Chinese Democracy album took 15 years and an estimated $13 million to produce. Rose's personal history also includes a 1991 conviction for misdemeanor battery against a neighbor and a civil lawsuit from a former girlfriend alleging physical abuse, which was settled out of court in 1994. 8. Phil Anselmo.
I've got more friends like you. What do I do?
Pantera. Phil Anselmo was the frontman of Pantera and one of the most powerful vocalists in groove metal. Vulgar Display of Power, 1992, and Far Beyond Driven, 1994, are records that permanently shaped the genre. His vocal performance across those albums is legitimate and influential. His most widely documented controversy occurred on January 22, 2016 at the Dimebag Tribute Concert in Hollywood, an event held annually to honor Dimebag Darrell Abbott. Anselmo performed, and at the conclusion of his set raised his right arm in a Nazi salute toward the audience while shouting a white power slogan into the microphone. It was captured on multiple cameras and released publicly within hours. He issued an apology the following day, describing it as a joke about drinking white wine. The explanation was rejected by virtually every artist on the bill that evening, many of whom issued their own public statements. This was not an isolated incident. Anselmo had been documented making similar gestures and statements in various settings over multiple years prior to 2016. He has also been involved in numerous public altercations and recorded verbal confrontations with other musicians. His addiction issues, which he has spoken about openly, have contributed to erratic behavior across several decades. He remains active in music but operates on the margins of mainstream metal as a result of sustained controversy. 7. Yngwie Malmsteen. Yngwie Malmsteen is a Swedish guitarist who emerged in the early 1980s and pioneered what became known as neoclassical metal, a style that merged the harmonic structures of Baroque classical music, particularly Bach and Paganini, with distorted electric guitar. His technical ability is not seriously contested. He is among the most precise and fast guitarists ever recorded. His interpersonal reputation has been described consistently and across decades in near identical terms by former bandmates, road crew, and industry colleagues: difficult, dismissive, and impossible to collaborate with as an equal. Band members have described recording environments where Malmsteen controlled every instrument on the record, often overdubbing bass and keyboards himself rather than trusting hired musicians, and where criticism or creative input from other members was not accepted. Lineup changes across his career have been constant. Very few musicians have worked with him in sustained capacity. His public interviews frequently include dismissive assessments of peers, including Van Halen, Clapton, and others. His 1987 incident aboard a transatlantic flight, during which he was reportedly intoxicated and assaulted a female passenger, leading to a lawsuit, is part of the documented public record. Malmsteen has never significantly acknowledged or addressed his reputation for difficult behavior. His public position has consistently been that his standards are simply higher than those around him. 6. Glenn Danzig.
If you feel alive in
Misfits, Danzig. Glenn Danzig founded the Misfits in Lodi, New Jersey in 1977 and built one of the most influential catalogs in horror punk and early metal crossover history. After the Misfits dissolved in 1983, he formed Samhain, then Danzig, in 1987. His baritone vocal style and songwriting across all three projects shaped significant portions of punk, metal, and gothic rock. His personal reputation within the industry is one of consistent difficulty. Former Misfits members, specifically Jerry Only, have engaged in multi-decade legal disputes with Danzig over rights to the band name, merchandise, and catalog. The litigation spanned years and was widely covered. Danzig rarely grants interviews. When he does, he dictates the terms extensively. He has walked out of or refused to complete press commitments on multiple documented occasions. His relationships with record labels have been repeatedly strained. He has been publicly critical of nearly every label he has worked with. The most visually circulated moment in his behavioral history is the 2004 video footage from a show in Tuba City, Arizona, where he was punched by a member of the band Northside Kings following a backstage dispute over stage time. The footage, shot by an audience member, was distributed widely online and became one of the most viewed clips in early internet metal culture. He has not publicly addressed most controversies involving his conduct. Numbers 5 through 1 get progressively more serious, including a legal battle that turned an entire fan base against one of metal's biggest bands and a number 1 entry that involves active law enforcement investigations across multiple countries. Stay with it. Subscribe if you aren't already. Drop a comment with where you think we should go next. 5. Lars Ulrich, Metallica. Lars Ulrich is the co-founder and drummer of Metallica. His role in building one of the most successful bands in the history of recorded music is not disputed. His role in shaping some of the most significant controversies in that same band's history is equally well documented. The Napster lawsuit of 2000 is the most referenced. Ulrich personally spearheaded Metallica's legal action against the peer-to-peer file sharing platform, delivering to Napster a list of over 335,000 usernames he claimed had illegally shared Metallica music. He testified before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. The case resulted in Napster being forced offline. The public response was severe. Many fans, particularly younger fans who had discovered Metallica through file sharing, viewed the lawsuit as an attack on the community that had sustained the band during its underground years. Multiple prominent musicians publicly criticized the move. The phrase Lars Ulrich against the fans became shorthand in music press coverage for years. The 2004 documentary Some Kind of Monster, which Metallica themselves commissioned and approved for release, contains footage of internal band sessions during the recording of St. Anger that document sustained conflict between Ulrich and band members, including significant tension with James Hetfield during his return from rehabilitation. The film was praised for its honesty, but also served as a detailed record of Ulrich's controlling behavior in creative settings. Ulrich's drumming has also been a source of ongoing criticism within technical metal circles, particularly following the production choices on St. Anger, where his snare drum sound became widely cited as one of the most divisive sonic decisions in mainstream metal history. 4. Tommy Lee, Mötley Crüe. Tommy Lee is the drummer and a founding member of Mötley Crüe. The band's run from 1981 through the mid-1990s produced some of the defining records of glam metal: Shout at the Devil, Theater of Pain, Girls, 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 and Dr. Feelgood. Lee's drumming, including his rotating 360-degree drum roller coaster rig used in live performance, is part of the documented spectacle of 1980s arena rock. His personal conduct is a separate record entirely. In 1998, Lee pleaded no contest to spousal battery charges filed by his then-wife, Pamela Anderson. He was sentenced to 6 months in jail, served 4, and was placed on 3 years of probation following his release. Anderson has spoken publicly about the abuse in multiple documented interviews and in her 2022 memoir. Lee's history also includes a 1994 incident where he and band member Vince Neil were alleged to have been involved in an assault at the Cat House Club in Los Angeles. A separate 2001 incident involved a confrontation with a neighbor. In 2018, his son Brandon Lee alleged in a social media post that Tommy Lee had struck him, which Lee disputed. The pattern across these incidents, spanning roughly 3 decades, represents one of the more extensive behavioral records in this genre. 3. Dave Mustaine, Megadeth. Dave Mustaine was fired from Metallica in April 1983, reportedly for substance abuse and violent behavior, including an incident involving a band member's dog. He was driven from New York to San Francisco on a Greyhound bus and handed a note. He was 21 years old. He then founded Megadeth and spent the next 4 decades making some of the most technically demanding thrash metal ever recorded. Peace Cells, Rust in Peace, and Countdown to Extinction are legitimate genre benchmarks. He also spent those same 4 decades making his dismissal from Metallica the most publicly discussed interpersonal grievance in metal history. Mustaine's interviews from the 1980s through the 2000s consistently returned to Metallica. He disputed songwriting credits. He made comparative claims about band success. He commented on Lars Ulrich and James Hetfield with consistent negativity. The running nature of this public commentary, maintained for 20-plus years, has been noted even by journalists sympathetic to his musical output. Megadeth's lineup changes have been among the most frequent in major label metal. Over 20 former members across the band's history, many of whom have given interviews describing volatile recording and touring conditions. Mustaine has been candid about his struggles with addiction and has been sober for an extended period. He was also diagnosed with throat cancer in 2019, underwent treatment, and returned to performing. His health battles are part of the record, as is his conduct. 2. Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson, born Brian Warner in Canton, Ohio in 1969, built one of the most commercially successful careers in industrial metal and shock rock through the 1990s and 2000s. Antichrist Superstar 1996 and Mechanical Animals 1998 are legitimate landmark records of the era. In February 2021, actor Evan Rachel Wood, who had been in a public relationship with Manson from approximately 2006 to 2010, posted a detailed public statement identifying Manson by name and describing a pattern of abuse during their relationship. Within 24 hours, multiple other women came forward with similar accounts. The number of women publicly making allegations grew to over a dozen within weeks. The allegations included claims of physical abuse, psychological manipulation, sexual coercion, and systematic isolation. Several former associates, including band members and production staff, corroborated aspects of the accounts regarding Manson's behavior in private settings. His record label, Loma Vista, dropped him within 24 hours of Wood's initial statement. Several television and film projects he was attached to were suspended. His management company terminated their relationship. An official criminal investigation was opened by the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department in 2021. As of the time of this recording, that investigation remains ongoing. Manson has denied all allegations. The contrast between his cultivated stage persona, which built its entire identity around transgression and darkness as performance, and the specific, credible, corroborated nature of these allegations is what has made this case so widely covered and so serious within the industry. 1. Gene Simmons, Kiss. Gene Simmons, born Chaim Witz in Tirat Carmel, Israel in 1949, co-founded Kiss in New York City in 1973 alongside Paul Stanley. The band's theatrical live show, trademark makeup designs, and merchandising operation transformed rock music's commercial model permanently. Simmons' bass playing is functional. His business mind built an empire. His public conduct is one of the most consistently documented cases of problematic behavior among any major rock figure still operating in the mainstream. Simmons' statements about women across decades of interviews are extensive and on record. He has made dismissive and sexually objectifying remarks in mainstream press settings repeatedly. In a 2018 interview with a female journalist at iHeartRadio, he engaged in behavior that the journalist described publicly as inappropriate, leading the parent company to ban him from their properties. Simmons disputed the characterization. Beyond gender-related conduct, Simmons' statements to fans and press frequently include commentary, suggesting that people with depression should not seek help, but rather kill yourself and get out of the way, remarks made in a 2014 Rolling Stone interview that generated significant backlash and a formal response. From mental health organizations. His business practices within Kiss have been described by former members, including original drummer Peter Criss and original guitarist Ace Frehley, as controlling and financially exploitative. Both have given extensive interviews on the subject. Simmons has responded publicly to both with contempt. He remains active. Kiss retired from touring in 2023 following their end-of-the-road farewell tour, and Simmons continues to operate the Kiss brand through licensing, merchandise, and media ventures. 10 names, all of them documented, none of it fabricated. This is not about canceling anyone's catalog. The music these people made is still what it is. But the full picture of who they are, or were, is part of the historical record too, and this channel doesn't selectively edit that record. If you have thoughts on who else belongs on this list, put it in the comments. We read everything. Hit like if this was worth your time, subscribe for the next video, and share it with someone who grew up on this music and can handle the full story. More coming. Stay subscribed.